Hi everyone, my name is Zelich. I am a master's student studying pure mathematics at the University of Cambridge.
Everyone, my name is Vincent Doan, and I am an honours student at the Australian National University studying computational chemistry.
And we're here to talk to you about embracing challenge. Okay, so mathematical research. What is it about? I study number theory and geometry, and the geometry that I deal with is not what we dealt back in high school. So it's not about trigonometry or Euclidean geometry, it's actually about curvature. Now, curvature can actually be traced back to Einstein. So Einstein's theory of general relativity posits that gravity is somehow the curvature of the space-time fabric, of geometry. So what is curvature, physical quantity or thing that we measure, have anything to do with number theory or number theoretic structures? So I think a good example to kind of relate to is if I gave you a cat and a dog, any cat or any dog, how can you prove to me that in general these two animals are different? Well, one way would be to look at the ears. So the ears in cats and dogs are generally different, right? And in some sense, curvature plays a role in the ears. But if I gave you a Siamese cat and a Frenchie, they kind of have the same ears. So we can't really conclude from just the ears, that these two animals are the same or different. And I guess this kind of illustrates the key idea. So if we had the curvature of a number theoretic structure, if they were different, then we know for sure that these number theoretic structures are different. But if they're the same, then we can't figure out whether they're the same, and we have to move on to other things. Now, before we get into curvature, we actually have to define a way which we can talk about curvature when we're talking about numbers, right? And I guess this is the key idea to mathematics. One has to first have an idea, and then to formalize it. It's like creating art, but fitting the mold of, in this case, mathematical language.
So I use approximations of Schrödinger equation to study chemical designs to solve chemical problems. So that paper was my last project, and my challenge was to design a better catalyst for a polymerization technique called atom transfer radical polymerization. Now, using computational chemistry, we were able to access over 50 catalyst designs, and that's really powerful because just making one of them can take a PhD student working full-time for over a year to come up with the synthesis and to make the molecule, not to mention the testing. So working with my supervisors, Michelle Coot and Benjamin Noble, we were able to finish the project within a few months. And another cool thing is that some of these reagents would not even be stable enough to exist in real life, but we were able to study them anyway and to extract the data trends from them and apply those findings to design more realistic systems. Before the lockdown, I was able to present the project at 4 conferences, and we received a lot of positive feedback, so it has been really cool. When I done the research, I volunteered for Meristem, which is an awesome NU-led volunteer-powered initiative that has over 206 volunteers since it started in 2016. And what we do is we produce and distribute teaching resources to teachers and students for free. So if you are a teacher who would like to try a flip or blended learning method, or just want some extra resources, or you are a student also wants some extra resources, please visit meristem.anu.edu.au, and it will lead you to our EdTech course, which is where the lecture is going to be. So we have the physics course up and ready for year 11 and 12, and by next month we will be releasing the biology and chemistry course for year 11 semester 2. So please check it out.
My biggest challenge in high school. Well, I guess that must have been when I created my paper. So, to give a bit of background, in term 2 of year 11, I was working on a geometry problem, and I actually had met my future collaborator, Zooming, in the US, through this problem. He was actually working on the same problem, coincidentally, a bit before me, but we both couldn't solve it. Once we combined forces together, we solved that problem within a week. But we began to notice that this problem had similar features to many other problems that we had either solved in the past or couldn't solve. And so they all had some sort of similar feature. And we took that feature and we made it into a big super problem, a theorem, that once solved would actually prove all the other problems very easily. But the difficult part was, of course, this theorem was much harder, and so it took us a longer time to solve it, and eventually, after 6 months of struggle, we finally figured out a way to approach it, and then we solved it. Now, obviously, the difficult part of all this was that time I still had school, so I was supporting my school in chess, piano, swimming, and cross-country. And also, I had the goal of achieving as best marks as I could. To make things even more difficult, in term 3 of year 12, where we had QCS, I actually was an invited speaker to go to Washington and talk about the paper. But I do not regret any second of it. Being part of school and being part of the school life and doing as many things as you can is, I think, really important. And I encourage everyone listening today to make sure they give it their all in school, because it's a great satisfaction looking back on it years later to know that you gave it your all. It's all about challenging yourself day by day, improving to become a better version of yourself.
I remember going to school and not being able to understand a single thing that the teacher was saying. And I had this little translator thing with me where I can enter and translate word by word from English to Vietnamese and back. And because I knew that I had no choice, which means that if I wasn't going to overcome this challenge, I would not even be able to have a dream, not to mention following it. So I started school in Australia in year 8, and for most of my time in year 8 and 9, I usually sat in class having no clue what was going on. I remember having to write a little reflection at the end of every English class about a topic discussed in class. It was kind of difficult writing a reflection about something that you had no clue the entire time. So my main study time was actually at home looking at online resources, and which is why I believe in online education and volunteer for initiatives such as Mary STEM. I think most people at Mary STEM have a very similar goal, which is to bring quality education to every student, especially those in rural areas where teachers and resources are extremely limited, like those like me who had to learn at a different pace. So one of the things that was measuring my progress was my English mark. I remember spending over 15 or 20 hours on each English essay, which at the time was double or triple the amount of time that others people spent on it. Every time, the best I could get was a C plus or a B minus, and my English teacher's Miss Lisa Hendry, and she did feel really bad for me because she knows that I worked really hard, but she could not give me better marks. For one, it was unfair to others, and for two, she knows that I would not improve if I got it easy. So sometimes I knocked the A minus door just to be kicked back to a B in the next essay. So as time goes and things got a little bit easier and effort started to pay off, in my year 12, I was able to understand the teachers better, and I actually started getting A's consistently for English essays. I actually learned lots of English from writing science reports, and I applied those skills onto my English essay. So I guess the lesson here is that you are going to fail before you succeed, and doing what really interests you can do wonders. I was lucky to grow up in a house with lots of education traditions. So after divorce with my dad, mom and I lived together with my aunt in our family house. So my aunt, who never married or had a kid, raised me like her son. And my aunt was a math teacher, and she was definitely one of the best teacher I know. Her students were actually mostly considered by society to be academically not gifted, and while most people gave up on them, she didn't. So in Vietnam, you have to pass the exams at the end to graduate, which covers all year 10, 11, and 12. Very much like I just said, so you can imagine it's a lot of work, and she was able to push all of her students to study really hard and pass all of those exams and graduate every single year, 100%. I remember there was a period when she even let some of her students board at our house because the house was too far away for them to go to school every day and then to go home and have time to study. So growing up in that environment, there was never a doubt in my mind that education is important and anyone can succeed in it given the right determination and the right education, so which means the right resources and the right teacher.
Okay, so my main two pieces of advice will be this. My first piece of advice would be to learn how to create short-term goals. But what do I mean by this? Obviously, it's important to have long-term goals, but I strongly believe that short-term goals help keep you motivated in the present. And I'll give you an example. So, in the semester before my honours year at university, I was taking 6 subjects. And as luck would have it, those 6 subjects, the 6 exams for them were packed into the first 4 days of exam block. So I had 2 exams on the first day, 2 exams on the second day, then 1 exam and then 1 exam after that. And I still remember the times of them. They were 8 a.m, 11 a.m, 11 a.m, then 5 p.m, then 11 a.m. and 11 a.m. So it was quite brutal. On top of that, I was running my own mathematics seminars and tutoring quite a lot. So my time was effectively cut into half, whilst taking 1.5 times the workload. So essentially, this semester was like 3 times as difficult as a normal university semester. But instead of looking at the glass half empty, I looked at it half full. I took it as a challenge to see whether this semester could be my best ever semester at university in terms of grades. And this was my goal and helped keep me motivated. You know, every day I was waking up, powering through lecture notes as efficiently as possible, you know, dreaming that I'll achieve this goal. And ultimately I did. But it didn't matter if I did, because every day I was improving. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And I guess this leads to my second point, which is to make sure that you're truly passionate about what you're doing. So in fact, before I went to the University of Queensland, I was in the University of Melbourne. I wasn't doing mathematics, I was doing medicine. I realized it wasn't for me. You know, passion combined with hard work is unbeatable. But one without the other, you're fighting a losing battle in the long run. But remember this, hard work beats talent when talent isn't working hard.
So I started my first research project towards the end of my degree, and I absolutely loved it. But I also regret that I didn't do it much earlier to get more experience. So I encourage you to get involved with professional environments early. Let it be taking up an apprenticeship or research projects or internship or traveling to work with the people from the different culture. Now there's a good chance that you will have to work harder than ever before, but if you pick a good environment, you will be able to observe how these professionals think, act and make decisions, and not only that will inspire you to work harder, that will also put you in a position where you have a much better idea of what you are passionate about, and then you will be able to make better plans and goals for the future. They don't have to match the experience that you had gone through. Like Ivan just said, sometimes you need to do things that you don't like to know what you really want.